Hey everyone, Andrew here. There are many constants in life. For me, it's video games and horror movies. And I just... One sec. Hold on. Well, sorry about that, y'all. I don't really know what happened there. It's kind of weird. Hell, hold on a sec. Something ain't right. Can't believe this. I was wondering why these were missing off my shelf. I wasn't able to find these for a while, but I mean, no more heroes? Deadly Premonition, like, that's so weird. Well, you know what? That gives me a really good idea for this video, actually. Holy cow. Thanks, Ghost. Alright, so, yeah, let's get into it. So I'll start things off by saying, since I am a major fan of SWERY and Suda51, this video is a bit of a legal obligation of mine. You see, I remembered and kind of out of nowhere found out once more after forgetting for a couple years that the two are collaborating. And yeah, I think that's really cool, and I honestly feel like I need to do this. Like, this video is the video that I basically was put here on this earth to make. And I believe that fully, trust me. So, I think what I should do first, before we really get into the main meat and potatoes of this video, I need to talk to you guys about who these people are, what games they've worked on, why I think they're important, and then we'll go on from there and we'll talk about their collaboration that they've just released, and I'm so happy right now. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start with my man, Suda51. Yeah, we're talking about Goichi Suda, also known as Suda51. This guy to me is a legend. I mean, he literally made a advertisement for his newest game that he worked on, where he's just eating a burger. It literally is just him eating a burger for like about a minute. Pretty weird, but this is pretty much par for the course for the man, not gonna lie. So yeah, he originally worked at Human Entertainment, where he worked on the Fire Pro Wrestling games, before going on to found a certain little company we all know and love, Grasshopper Manufacturer. So yeah, let's take a look at some of the games that this absolute legend put out into the world, shall we? And of course, it would not be a proper introduction of Suda51's games if I did not start with the Silver Case. This is a very smart game that has a really cool aesthetic to it. It's very artistic. I definitely don't think it's one that I would put in front of like a young person, like a teenager maybe. There's a lot of higher end smart dialogue that you kind of wouldn't expect out of Suda, when you compare this to some of his later works. However, I will say this game it's very stylish and very cool. It's definitely one that I think you should have on your radar, especially if you are into visual novels or sci-fi. Just give it a go. Like, you can get it on sale pretty cheap, and I'm pretty sure like it goes on sale frequently on like the Switch eShop as well as Steam. Highly recommended. It's a classic. What else can I say? You also got Killer 7, which is a pretty rad game. It's a GameCube era game where it's kind of like a mixture of a point-and-click adventure game, kind of, with a first-person shooter, and basic gist is there are enemies that are slightly invisible that you are You know, you're exploring around, doing things, talking with characters, and these enemies will appear, and you kind of have to like scan for them and take them out. They have weak points and such. It's a good time. It's a classic. Highly recommended. It is, I believe, related to the next game that I'm going to be discussing, which is, of course, listen, you knew it had to be in here. We've streamed through these games here on the channel. I highly recommend you go and watch the VODs on those if you want to see No More Heroes. I love these games personally, and I always will. You know, but, you know, Suda51, he's responsible for this absolute gem, and of course that means he's also responsible for the absolute banger that is No More Heroes 2, you know, the direct sequel to the last game that I just showed you. Again, if you want to watch these, we did stream through them on this channel. It was good fun, really enjoyed it, had some really good times with the chat. But, you know, we need to move on to, wait a minute, what's this? What Grasshopper Manufacturer? What is that? Oh, that's right. Did you all forget about the 3DS classic Liberation Maiden? Surely you did not forget about the classic 3DS game Liberation Maiden. This is a very interesting and actually pretty cool game that I did actually play on my Nintendo 3DS. Or as Reggie would say, my new Nintendo 3DS. So yeah, this game's really neat. Actually, it's basically like a flying shmup sorta kinda, where you're piloting a mech and you're flying around in 3D and you are shooting targets. And yeah, it actually wasn't that deep, but it was pretty fun for what it was. And you know, if you have it, go play it again. If you don't have it, that's too bad, because the eShop is no longer available for you to go and purchase this game. I really did enjoy this one. It's kind of, again, it was a pretty basic game, but it looked nice on the 3DS, especially the 3D effect. It was pretty cool. It's just kind of one of those games that I don't really think about that often, but when I do think about it, I kind of wish I still had a 3DS to play it. But yeah, let's stop mourning the loss of a pretty okay, just kind of okay game, and let's move on to what I thought was going to be in this spot. And that is, of course, No More Heroes 3. This game is awesome. I actually forgot how much I liked it until recently, when me and Ronnie have been streaming through it. And we actually still need to finish it. I'm a little surprised we haven't yet. I think we're on like the last like maybe hour and a half stretch. But anyways, besides the point. This is basically one of those games where I think Suda51 was really kind of coming back into the saddle and really getting a grip on the studio again. And it's pretty darn awesome, and just overall really like this game. And you know what else I like? I like slaughtering demons en masse. I absolutely love it when you can just shoot a demon in the face, especially when they do really cool things like add a slow motion effect like you're about to see here. That's so cool. I love that. I love shooting demons. Like, you know, that's why I think Doom is such a successful game. You know, you just get to do that all the time. And you get to do that all the time here in Shadows of the Damned. This game is really awesome, and I think it's a bit underrated. I definitely think more people should try it, because it is yet another collaborative work between Suda51 and Shinji Mikami, of all people, who, you know, if you don't know that name, that's the guy that kind of, you know, made Resident Evil what it is today. So that's a pretty big deal. But also this has a soundtrack by Akira Yamaoka, which is just freaking sweet. Speaking of freaking sweet, check out this stage intro. This is awesome. And of course, we're talking about Killer is Dead. This game is very unfortunate in that on Steam, it only can go up to 1080p. I'm sure there's a fan patch out there, and I just don't have it installed right now on my machine. However, it'd be really cool if, you know, Suda51 and crew, or maybe just, you know, some interns or something, went through and just patched this game out to include higher resolutions, because this game is really cool, and I think it's, in terms of like the history of Suda51's studio, I think this is just a really cool game that is definitely, like, it's underrated for sure, and I think more people should give it a go, and I think it would be more enticing if it was in better shape than it currently is. Overall, I still recommend it, even if there is some jank present. And you know, looking forward, Suda51 and Grasshopper Manufacturer have a really cool looking game that honestly reminds me a lot of No More Heroes in a way, and that is Romeo is Dead Man. for is a dead man. I'm really looking forward to this game. It just looks absolutely gratuitous and wacky in all the best ways. And it definitely has that No More Heroes DNA inside of it. I mean, the third-person shooting definitely looks different from what we normally get out of those games. But the hack and slash combat and just the bosses and the chaos, I'm really looking forward to this one. And I really hope it ends up being a genuine gem. And with that, I hope you have learned something, maybe, about the many games that Suda51 has worked on over the years. I think they're all worth your time. Definitely all of them are just wacky Japanese nonsense. He also worked on Lollipop Chainsaw, but I don't actively have a copy of that to record, so it's not here. Anyways, so yeah, Suda51, absolute legend, makes some of the coolest, goriest nonsense games out there on the market. And now we need to go into my... This is one of those things that I think is definitely a guilty pleasure, for sure, and that is the magical world of Swery's mind and the absolute mastercraft that is Deadly Premonition. I feel like I've already said my piece about this beautiful disaster. Like, this is genuinely one of the objectively worst games ever made on a design level. However, it's also one of the most charming, enjoyable, lovable, wacky adventures that I think I've ever played. It's basically like a video game version of Twin Peaks, which is a show that you absolutely need to watch if you haven't. Lovable characters, just crazy dialogue. The main character is great. Combat's pretty straightforward and simple. The driving is a challenge, which is really funny. You have to basically take the car at appropriate speed limits to properly traverse around the map. And it's a big map. It is an open world detective game with time restraints and whatnot. And it has just some genuine gems of dialogue. I painstakingly recreated a shot-for-shot scene in real life for you all. So please enjoy my absolute cinema take on an iconic scene from this game. Did you see that, Zach? Clear as a crisp spring morning. FK in the coffee. Knew I could count on it. It never fails. Thank you for humoring me. I was very happy with that when I made it. It's very silly, I will admit, but you know, I love the game so much that I just had to do it. You know, it's my homage, if you will. So anyways, this game, the first game at least, it's kind of a gem. You know, people hated it when it came out. Pretty sure IGN gave it one of the lowest scores of all time at the time of its release. However, you know, a lot of the tourists have been kind of coming back and talking about how, man, this game was actually really good all along. And it's like, yeah, it was. So they made a sequel, and it's just as wacky and just as silly. I don't think it's as charming as the first game. It's definitely not as good in my opinion, but it's still worth a look if you enjoyed the first one. But yeah, there are some other cool games under Swery's name that I would like to also share with you all. And I would be an absolute fool to not talk about D4, Dark Dreams Don't Die. So this game right here, folks, it's a true shame. Basically, it was going to be an episodic type of game, like one of the old Telltale games, if you will, but you know, made by SWERY and crew. And it has some really funny animations, like the actions that your character performs are always exaggerated. And the characters are just absolutely goofy. But I really adored this game, and it's really sad to know that it's just never going to get, you know, another season. It's never going to get another episode. Basically, like, everyone got scammed. I hate saying that, but like, you know, you bought the game. You were looking forward to seeing more of it after you finished the first episode. It didn't sell well. It was a flop, and it really sucks because I think this is a game that it deserves attention, and I would really love it if for just some miracle, Swery comes back to this game, you know, with renewed interest, because I think this could be a genuine gem that people will look at and enjoy and, you know, talk about for years to come, because I've thought about this game for years now and how much I would love to see it continue. But it is what it is. I can't resolve this issue, but hey, maybe me making this video will bring some attention to it, and hey, maybe you go support it. Even if it is just one episode, you can get it pretty cheap, I think, when it goes on sale. So I do recommend it. Like, just give it a go, because I'm not going to show the cool stuff in this, but there's some pretty wacky, like, fight sequences with really funny music and just absolutely insane characters. In particular, the guy that goes, "Avant-garde!" Yeah, out of context, that's probably really stupid. But, yes, please give it a go. Much like you should give these next ones a go. Now, before we proceed, I'd like for you to look at this man. This is Swery himself with his little stuffed monkey. I want you to look at this guy, right? Just appreciate this man. This guy right here is I can't even explain this man to anybody. But you know, he's got his monkey, he's got his bowl of assorted nuts. He's so pure, and I love him. And he loves me, apparently, according to this short he made where he's jumping on a trampoline. Yeah, protect this man at all costs, and just remember that he's also the absolutely twisted mind behind the missing J.J. Macfield and the Island of Memories. This game is absolutely twisted in like some of the craziest ways. So effectively what we have here is a puzzle platformer where our titular JJ is, well, she's kind of immortal in a way. As you can see, she has now broken bones, broken her neck and her foot there, because this game is a puzzle platformer where in order to solve some of the puzzles, you must allow JJ to, you know, be harmed physically. Like for instance here, I fell over, right? I gotta reposition myself and get up so that I can break through this wall, right? So, you know, I'm gonna put my box here. My box is in a good spot, and I'm just gonna let JJ get smacked, right? So, basically what's happening right now is because my neck is broken, my world is inverted. I am upside down currently. And JJ has the ability to fix herself, and it's pretty gruesome in a way. Like, yeah, they kind of censor the gore aspect of it for sure, but yeah, basically snap your neck. Hey, we're back, it's good. This game's incredible and really weird. Now, the good life here is it's just kind of weird. I don't particularly have that much fondness for it. It is a pretty unique game where you basically are a photographer for a New York publication that goes to England to a weird small town to kind of take photos of the environment, and you're also figuring out what's going on. Like, there's some strange stuff going on, like, you know, the townsfolk are turning into, well, they turn into animals at night, and you too also turn into an animal later on in the game. You know, you unlock the ability to turn into a cat and wander around at night, basically interact with the different animals. And yeah, this is a very strange game. Most of your time is spent walking around taking pictures. There is a murder mystery to solve, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, overall, probably the weirdest departure in terms of tone, I think, for Swery, at least from the last few games we've discussed. And you know, it's worth a look if you're into more relaxed games. I say relaxed, it is still a very weird game, but it's a little more cozy in a way. And I don't hate it, but I don't love it. It's kind of okay, you know? And with that, I hope you've gotten a decent look at just what these guys have made in the past, because moving forward, we've got something pretty darn interesting. So yeah, let's just dive right in. I'm very excited about this one. So what happens when you put two of the most genuinely interesting people in Japan on the same project? Well, here's what happens. Suda51 comes up with a concept. He builds out a world. He builds the bones. And then he sends it over to White Owls, which is SWERY's studio, and they concoct what has to be probably the wackiest game I've seen this year. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hotel Barcelona. So you play as Federal Marshal Justine, who is actively being possessed by what is known as imprisoned serial killer Dr. Carnival. The game opens with Justine transporting a mobster slash quote unquote exterminator who calls himself Mad Fury. Their destination, which is the titular Hotel Barcelona. Justine's mission was to transport the exterminator to this hotel so that he can deal with a variety of bad guys, and naturally it all goes sideways and he kind of dies. Quite comically, might I add. So Dr. Carnival tells Justine that she can go and just do the exterminator's job for him since he is no longer of use, and offers her the power to do so. From there you go into various stages based off of different horror films and genres, fighting through mobs of different enemies leading up to major bosses of each area. Think of them as kind of like the ranked matches from No More Heroes. You select your loadout going into each stage, and there are a variety of weapons to unlock along with different costumes, which, you know, if you're into a little variation in character design, that's pretty nice little touch. Upon death, which I did die on my first official run and a few runs after that, you reawaken in the hotel room due to some form of time loop. Naturally, there's a monster in the closet that provides you the ability to unlock skills. Of course, there's also a weapons vendor that lets you exchange materials for a variety of weapons. You can also explore the hotel, which is kind of neat. There's a few different characters to meet, which definitely adds to the charm and to the story. Like, the overall world building is just, it's pretty decent here. And there's even a pinball machine to play. But let's not get too far off track. Basically, what the game has done here is it has established a roguelite format for the proceedings. From what I can tell, the level maps themselves are static, so the room placements are all the same. However, the buffs gained and the enemy placements, as well as the enemy typings themselves, are different between runs. And combat, it is admittedly a little bit clunky at first. However, I will say, once you get a feel for it, things do start to feel a bit smoother, and especially once you start unlocking new attacks and new combos and new skills. Like, there's a parry function, there's also directional inputs that you can unlock for your heavy attacks that can use stuff like a launcher. And, you know, there's like super moves where you activate Dr. Carnival and he just kind of goes ham. Pretty cool. Overall, I am glad that it got better with each run. Like, the gameplay feels a lot better now that I've, you know, died a few times and gotten a few upgrades. So yeah, it's definitely nice that the game does get better than its initial impressions do kind of let on. Interestingly, however, so each run, you actually get to see a ghost of your previous run to see what path you took. And your ghosts actually also do hit enemies when they are attacking. So even if they're fighting a different enemy, you know, from your previous life, if one of the enemies you're fighting happens to run into them, and this includes bosses, by the way, you do restart a boss fight, your ghost will help you out there as well. So it's just kind of cool. Like, it's a neat little gimmick. It also means that when you're rerunning a level, you can opt to go a different route from, you know, your previous life. Makes it a little easier to manage and make sure that you are going different ways each time, so you can, you know, get different buffs and see different parts of the map that you might have missed. Right here, what we have is a very interesting game package, and I think the main people behind it, that being SWERY and Suda51, are pretty special. But, you know, let's go a little deeper. Let's talk about some people who worked on this game, shall we? So I kind of want to start this segment talking about the artist, because there's actually quite an interesting story here. So we'll go ahead and knock out the easy ones to talk about. First, we have Hiroaki Hashimoto, who is the key artist and illustrator, who also provided illustrations for D4 Dark Dreams Don't Die and Deadly Premonition 2. Other works do include Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, God Hand, King of Fighters 11, and Advance Wars Days of Ruin. Now, I do not have images of any of these artists, so I apologize in advance for this segment being a little funky to start, but don't worry, we'll get some pictures here soon. So after that we have Saho Nanjo, who is a 2D animator that also worked on the ending animation for Chainsaw Man Season 1, and was also the director for a Yasoabi music video for Probably. I know that sentence sounded really weird, but if you look up Yasoabi, Probably, you will find the music video. And here's where things get weird. So now we have this individual by the name of Jun Kawasaki. Jun Kawasaki is labeled as the art director, according to an interview with SWERY. So according to SWERY, Jun Kawasaki previously worked on Lord of Vermilion, which is a Japanese arcade game published by Square Enix, and it also had an anime adaptation a few years back. I cannot find anything on Jun Kawasaki outside of this interview for the life of me, so I am purely basing this information on what SWERY mentioned in that interview. Like, genuinely, this person is a mystery. But thankfully, you know, these next people are not a mystery to anybody. We're gonna move on to the musicians, the people who compose the soundtrack. There's actually a really cool group of people here that I think is a genuine talent pool that needs to be commended. And you know, I've listened to the soundtrack already, and it's actually pretty darn good all around. And these are the people we have to thank for it. So we'll start with the director for the music in Hotel Barcelona. So that honor goes to Yuji Takenouchi, or known as Technouchi. So Technouchi is a pretty interesting individual. So originally he was the Dark Souls 1 and 2 sound designer predominantly, and he actually did compose the character creation music in the original Dark Souls. But of course, other notable works do include the aforementioned D4, Dark Dreams Don't Die, and Ace Combat 10. Just a very interesting and varied experience pool for sure. And I do have to give him pretty mad props, like directing this soundtrack and how it actually turned out in the end. Like, it's genuinely a good listen. I do recommend you check it out. I'll link the soundtrack in the description. But moving on to some of the other members of the music composition team. So we have Takahiro Izutani, who is most notably known for the Bayonetta series. So all 3 Bayonetta games, he was involved. He also worked on Yakuza 2, as well as Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, which is actually one of my favorite Metal Gear Solid games. So seeing this was one of his games that he worked on was actually pretty cool to me. And then we also have Shota Nakama, who is actually a bit of a legend, especially in the Sega circles. So Shota Nakama is the founder of the Video Game Orchestra, as well as the Sonic Symphony, which both of those make the rounds quite regularly in terms of like performances, and they're actually pretty well regarded. So that's really interesting seeing him on this list of composers. He also has a few songs that he's credited for working on in Marvel Rivals, and if you haven't heard that soundtrack, I do recommend you look up some of his songs, because he actually did make a few of the good ones. And then after that we have Takako Yumishima. So I could not find much about Takako, like, anywhere. But I did find a very, very basic website that credited her as working on Jikyo Powerful Pro Yaku, which is basically a baseball game made in Japan that's, from what I understand, relatively popular and has been around for a very long time. And of course, he also has credited on Hotel Barcelona. So a bit of a mysterious one for sure that I really had a hard time getting any information about. So yeah, I'm glad I was able to at least glean one different game from her. So this one is going to be a bit of a Square Enix fan pick, I feel. And that is Junya Nakano. So Nakano worked for Square Enix predominantly for a very long time, and has worked on games such as Project Sylphid, which that's a pretty obscure one, I know, don't worry. It's a game that I played when I was younger, and I thought it was pretty neat. Final Fantasy 13, that's the one that everyone calls Hallway Simulator, but it has a phenomenal soundtrack, so yeah, good job, Nakano-san. And Dawn of Mana. This is actually a game that I played as a younger individual. Rented it from a Blockbuster, of all things, if you can believe it. Those still existed at the time. It was an okay game, not a great one, but it had a pretty darn good soundtrack. Yeah, but these four basically make up the music team outside of Technouchi, and they did a pretty bang-up job, I definitely gotta say. And honestly, everyone that worked on this game, I really do want to give a bit of a shout out to everyone on this development team, and anyone that basically worked on this game in any capacity, because I think there's something pretty special here. It is definitely one of those games that you have to have the acquired taste to enjoy it, I feel. However, outside of an initial, like, kind of sloggy and rough startup, I think after playing it a little bit longer than I recorded and unlocking more skills and just kind of, you know, playing it more and kind of letting myself invest into the world and the characters, I do think there's a charming and genuinely interesting and fun game here, and I do look forward to playing through it and completing it in my own time. But honestly, this is the kind of collaboration that I've been dreaming of. Like, genuinely. SWERY and Suda51 are two of my favorite minds in the industry, and having them come together to make this new wacky IP is just, it's beyond what I thought I was going to get this year. I actually completely forgot this game existed until it popped up on my feed, and I was like, I have to make this video. This is a legal obligation that I have. I have to do this. I will not forgive myself if I do not make this video, because these guys genuinely have created gems in the past that kind of shaped me into the person I am today. And I know that sounds really stupid, but genuinely, I love their work, and it has inspired me in many ways in some of the things I've done in life. You know, obviously not anything dark or crazy, you know. you get what I'm saying. These guys, they're just awesome, and I love them. I genuinely do. Yeah, I think I'm getting a little too far gone here. So, are you still with me? Good. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Again, like, this is just one of those videos where I felt compelled to make it. I genuinely care about these two developers quite a bit. They've made so many games that have been pretty influential to me just as a person, and have made me realize how cool certain genres can be, and how I can't even go into it right now. It's about to be 1 a.m. and I'm still filming for this video. I just want you to know that I really appreciate you, and if you are here right at this moment in time, you are the #1 coolest person on the internet right now. Thank you so much, again, from the bottom of my heart. Like, I can't stress enough how nice it is that these big videos get the support that they do. Hopefully this one does okay. We'll see. But yeah, if you liked what I did here, consider liking the video. You know, maybe subscribe. I think that would be kind of neat. Just saying. You don't have to, though. I can't make you. But anyways, hope y'all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time.